So I wanted to tell a story today about fear and courage. Do you guys know that fear is your monthly theme this month? Have you been doing stuff around fear in your RE classes? No? All right. Well, it's okay. We'll do it now. It's cool. We'll do it now. This is a story from the Civil Rights era. Does anybody know when that was? Civil rights? Ring a bell? No. Who can tell me when the Civil Rights era was? 60s, 1960s. Oh, were you going to say that? Yeah?
I know why on President's Day we only celebrate George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Wow. She knows a lot about President's Day. That's really cool. We're not going to be talking about President's Day right now, but I'm really excited that you know about it. Abraham Lincoln stopped slavery. That's right. That was part of civil rights. Yeah. Okay. So Abraham Lincoln stopped slavery. That was part of civil rights. That was like an early side of civil rights. The civil rights movement we're talking about today happened in the 1960s. Were any of you guys alive in the 1960s? No? Anybody? All right. A couple of them were. I wasn't. So I'm with you guys. But this story takes place in Birmingham, Alabama. Has anybody ever been to Birmingham or anywhere in Alabama? Yeah? A few of the adults. Does anyone know where Alabama is? Yeah? Where is it?
It's in America. It's in the U.S. In the, I think, South.
Yeah, it's in the... Yeah, totally. It's in the U.S. in the southeast region. So is it hot down there? Yeah, Alabama gets pretty hot. So this is a story about the Children's March that took place in Birmingham, Alabama in May of 1963. And so in 1963 in Birmingham, Alabama, it was a really bad time for racism in this country. And Birmingham was segregated. Does anybody know what segregated means? Yeah? What does it mean? Right. Dark-skinned people were separated from white-skinned people. So the whole city was divided. So there was schools for white kids and then schools for black kids. And there was water fountains for white people and water fountains for black people. The whole city was divided like this. And there was also a lot of violence during that time, a lot of racist violence. It was a really, really bad and scary, scary time. Often during that time, a weekend would go by and someone would be murdered. Sometimes there would be bombings. The police were sometimes really awful to people of color in that time. It was a really, really difficult time. So when there's a lot of oppression, what do you think we're supposed to do? Fight it, right? Yeah? Stand up for our rights. That's right. So this is what happened in the Children's March. So things were really bad, and they decided that they needed to do something. So Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. came to Birmingham, Alabama. Have you guys heard about Dr. King? Martin Luther King? Yeah, who is he? Yeah?
He is one of the people who stopped segregation.
Totally. He was one of the people who stopped segregation. He was a great leader, right? So he came down to Birmingham, and he was planning for 3 whole months of protests in order to make end the segregation in Birmingham. And so they started, and all the adults started marching. And what do you think happened when they started marching? Yeah? Right. The white people got upset about it, and some of them went to jail. So Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King went to jail, among many other people. And it was scary for a lot of the black community because all the adults were afraid that they were going to lose their jobs, or that they would get in trouble, or their family would get hurt. It was a scary time, and it required a lot of courage to go on those marches. But while Dr. King was in jail, the movement started to diminish because they didn't have a leader and people were scared because they were going to lose their jobs. And when he finally came back out of jail, they almost packed up and went home thinking, you know what, we don't have enough people to build a justice movement right now. But guess what happened then? No one knows. What do you think?
The kids probably joined in.
The kids joined in, totally. The kids joined in. So what happened was a whole bunch of kids were like, well, we don't have jobs that we're going to lose, and this is really important to us, so why don't we march? What do you guys think about that? Have any of you ever been on a protest or marched before? Yeah, you guys know what that's about. And it feels good, right, to say this is what is important to me and to tell the whole world, right? Good, cool. So we've got some old hands down here. Have any of you been on a march before? There's some old hands back there too. So when the children were getting ready to march, they started in their churches. Do you know that the civil rights movement was mostly organized in churches like this one? Did you guys know that before? Why do you think that they would organize in a church? Why would you start a protest march from your church? Anyone have ideas? What does church have to do with justice and with standing up for your rights? Is church a place where there are a lot of people who care about justice? Yeah, totally. Is church a place where you learn how to focus on what is meaningful to you? Yeah? Does this place help you guys figure out what's most meaningful to you? Yeah, totally. That's what church is about. And so church is also a place where you get to pray and meditate and sing songs. Have you guys sung songs when you've been on protests before? Yeah? Do you remember a song that you sang? Yeah, there's a lot of them. Sometimes we forget. You led a call and response. Do you remember what it is? You want to lead us right now?
Not my president.
We got a civil rights leader right here. Good job. We've got a lot of great civil rights leaders right here. So chants help you remember why you're marching, right? That's part of why you remember what you're doing out there once you get on the streets. Do you guys make signs for the protests that you've been on? Yeah, you've made signs too. So you do signs, and there's songs, and there's chants. And church is one of the places where, well, sometimes we make signs in church, but we learn those songs, and we practice those chants, and we remember what's meaningful to us. So all of these kids, they went to their church in the middle of the day. They skipped school. They went to half of school, and then they went to church. And then they flooded down the steps of the church and into the streets. And then they started marching. And the first day, guess what do you guys think happened the first day? What happened to What happened to the adults? They get arrested? Yeah. So these were kids, some of the kids were as young as 6. A lot of the kids were like 13 or 14. Can you imagine going on a protest just by yourselves when you're young and a teenager? So these kids, 1,000 of them got arrested on the first day. 1,000 kids. And they were put in jail. And then on the second day, the police got really angry that there were still kids protesting, and so they got meaner. And they put fire hoses on the kids. They sprayed them with water, really powerful water. And they scared the kids with dogs. They had big German shepherds. Some of them bit the kids' clothing. And it was a really scary time. And they kept arresting kids. And you know what the kids kept doing? Marching. Yeah. They kept marching. And so what happened was that people started taking pictures, and people around the country started seeing pictures of what they were doing to these kids as the kids were marching for their freedom. And the whole world got incensed. Do you know what incensed means? Angry. Got angry and started putting pressure on the government in Birmingham, Alabama. And you know what happened because of those kids marching? They desegregated Birmingham, Alabama. Just 8 days of those kids marching desegregated the whole city because the whole world was watching them. Isn't that amazing? Do you think those kids were afraid when they were doing that? Yeah. But they seem brave too, right? What do you what helps you be brave when you're afraid? People support you sometimes. Sometimes your parents support you and say you can do it. And their parents were saying that to them. And sometimes you remember why you're doing something, that like you really, really care about something, and that helps you gain some courage. And then you have a lot of other people around you. Even when you're around a lot of other kids who are brave just like you can do stuff more than you could do if you were just on your own, right? So that's the story of the Children's March of Birmingham, Alabama. It was a really scary time. Protests are not that scary anymore. So if you guys are worried about that happening at a protest, it's not going to happen now. And I know that all of your parents are really good at keeping you safe and making sure that you know all the right protest chants to chant and, and songs to sing. So that's our story for today, about the brave kids in Birmingham, Alabama. And with that, I invite you up to go to your religious education programs and invite everybody to join in singing Go Now in Peace for our youngest among us.